you from?
Originally,
Yeah.
I'm from Rochester, New York.
I can hear it now. So, how did you get down here? I'm assuming work.
So my grandparents live near the beach, and we wanted to be close enough, but not too close.
So, good balance.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. So, the military, I think, how did you end up, how did your paths kind of lead you down to the military path?
So fresh out of high school, I thought about the Navy. Um, Life had other options. So I tried to go to school, realized college really wasn't my thing, it wasn't for me. And my uncle's best friend actually was a recruiter for the National Guard. So he had been bugging me for a couple years, and then finally I was like, all right, I'll do it.
I think, was there anything that appealed to you about the National Guard?
The fact that I could still have a normal quote unquote life. I could still be a civilian and be in the military at the same time.
Very true. What year did you join?
I was 21, so 2015.
Oh, wow. So, it's been over 10 years.
Yeah, I took a break in service. I had got out in 2022 and then got back in 2024.
Oh, wow. What made you want to come back?
I missed it.
You don't hear that from, well, I hear most people say afterwards they miss it, but.
Yeah, so I got out and then I moved down here. I started working for the city and I just missed the camaraderie. I missed belonging to something bigger than just my job.
And came on back?
Yeah.
I want to take it back to the first, the beginning. So, do you remember, I guess, boot camp and going through all of that?
Yes, I do. It's hard to forget.
I think, how was that experience for you, like going from kind of doing your everyday life and then the yelling, all of the structure, all of that?
It's a shock. When I went through basic training, it was still very hardcore. They've changed it these days. It's not quite as mean. But I was a little older too. I was 21 when I joined, so a lot of the younger kids, 17 and 18 years old, it was a little harder on them. But I knew what I was there for. It's still waking up at 4 a.m. to, shouting and screaming and people flipping beds and tipping over lockers and stuff. You never get used to it. But if I could do it again, I would.
Oh, I don't hear too many people say that. So for you, I know most of the time with the military, they pick a job for you. With the National Guard, is that the same way, or usually you just wait for an event?
So when you enlist into the National Guard, after you take your ASVAB, they give you like a list of jobs that you qualify for. And then from that list, there's a list of like units within that state that have openings for that job, and you enlist into that job in that unit. So before you even go to basic training, you know exactly where you're going to be when you get out.
Awesome. So what
So
was
it's
your job?
different. I was a 92 Yankee, which is logistics supply. I've been a 92 Alpha, also similar. They're both supply logistics. They go hand in hand. And I originally enlisted in New York. So I was in the New York Guard with the 42nd. We were the support battalion for the 42nd ID. And then I was in the Maryland Guard. I lived in Maryland for 8 years, so I was in the Maryland Guard, and I was in the 175 Infantry. So we were the support battalion for the infantry there. So in New York, I was in the infantry. In Maryland, I was also in the infantry. And then I came down here to North Carolina, and now I'm with the 105th MPs doing supply for them.
Did you want to do supply? I know most people don't want to do the job that is picked, but did you want to do that?
So
You can be honest.
yeah, long story short, I could have pretty much done anything with my scores, but because I had a couple blemishes on my background from when I was young, my options were limited.
I think, how is doing supply chain kind of in the military? Did you kind of pick it up easy, or did you grow to like it?
I do like it now. It's something that I want to go to school for on the civilian side and do like supply chain management. There's a lot of money in it. It's easily transferable because there's a lot of jobs in the military that you can't do in the civilian side. You know, it's like it's cool and it's fun when you're in the Army or when you're in the Navy, but then on the civilian side, you're like, okay, what am I going to do with this?
I think what's it like having to be brought in to just help out with these major things happening in our country?
Things like Hurricane Helene. It was rewarding to be part of something like that. Seeing all the devastation in Asheville. That's where my unit is. Asheville still isn't the same. And there's still people that don't have what they had before the hurricane. So just being able to say, like, I was there and I helped package boxes and I handed out these things to these people that needed it, it's rewarding because a lot of people on the civilian side of things, they don't get those opportunities.
Right. Was it hard, speaking of Hurricane Helene, was it hard actually, you see it on TV, but is it different and a little bit more, hard seeing it in your face and being there on the ground?
Yes. So obviously it was all over TikTok, it was all over Facebook, on the news. But once you got there, it was like a pain in your chest. It was heavy. Like just seeing all the debris and the cars and actually being in it, it was way heavier than you could imagine on TV.
Definitely. I've been through a few and it's not fun, and I've been up there and it's hard to see what Mother Nature can do.
Right.
How long were you up there? I know a lot of people stayed up there for a
while. So I only did the original 30 days because I have a child and it became voluntary after that and I had to go home. I had to come back to work. But there were a lot of people in my unit who were up there for between 3 and 4 months from when it happened in September all the way to December.
Wow. That's a lot. So you're in Maryland, and then I'm assuming, like you said, you came down to Charlotte for family. So with the city, how did you decide code enforcement? How did that all fall in your lap?
So it kind of really just fell in my lap like that. So when I was in Maryland, I was working full time for the National Guard. So I was considered a DOD civilian, a federal civilian. So I was working federal. I worked on a military base, so I already had, and I worked behind a desk, but I already had 3 years of government background. So when I moved down here to the city, originally I was looking into logistics. I wanted to go try to find something that had became my passion, and kind of move up from there. And then I started looking into government jobs because I was like, well, I already have the government. So I went on USA Jobs and I started applying for more federal positions, and then realized that most of those are Fayetteville and Raleigh. So I just started applying for local government. I applied for the county, I applied for the city, I applied for Union County, I applied for York County, kind of just trying to figure out where I was going to end up. And I actually ended up getting hired as an office assistant for code enforcement. I knew absolutely nothing about code enforcement or what they did or what I was getting myself into. And I did that for about a year and a half. And a lot of the other inspectors and my supervisor were like, you're bored. You're overqualified for this. You look bored. You need to do something. So that's when I became an inspector. And even from here, I want to go, I don't want to be an inspector forever. I want to move up within the city, even if it's not code enforcement. I would like to stay in housing and neighborhood services because I like the department. I like Rebecca. I like what we do for the city. But if that's not where it takes me, then I'm open. I do want to stay with the city of Charlotte, though. I really like working here.
They would love to hear that. Code enforcement. I actually got a chance to kind of see it in action yesterday.
Yeah, Harry said he had a ride along with you.
Yeah, he was taking me through, and we saw everything. But it's really eye-opening, I think. What's it like for you just being out here and doing this job?
Um, it makes you look at other cities differently. Especially like I lived in Baltimore for 8 years before I moved here, and everybody knows, you hear the horror stories. A lot of people have watched The Wire. Um, and then moving here to a city like this, and then working in a department that focuses on keeping the city, up to code, essentially, beautiful, keeping it from crumbling, keeping houses from falling apart. It kind of makes you wonder what other cities are putting their money into. Um, I've traveled, just since living here, I've been to Chicago. I was there before this, but, New York City, all these big cities, Miami, Atlanta, and you go through some of the neighborhoods and you kind of wonder where the funds are being allocated, because Charlotte is not a very big city compared to some of these other cities, and it's beautiful, really, to live in. We deal with a lot of like underlying problems, but in comparison to other cities, it's nothing, really.
You're really right. I think Harry was mentioning there are some people who are like, y'all are heroes, and then some who are like, oh my gosh, why are you here?
Yeah.
Is that interesting seeing both perspectives in your job?
We have a love-hate relationship with the people of the city. Like he said, some of them love to see us coming because they care about their neighborhoods and they care about the value of their home, and they care about, what their cousins or their relatives see when they're coming to visit. They care. They care about where their tax dollars are going. Then you get a lot of people who are just very stuck in their ways, so to say, very much, I've been living like this for 45 years. Don't come over here bothering me. And sometimes you get people who receive things from a certain demographic differently, depending on what type of neighborhood you're in. So Harry, in certain neighborhoods may get a different reaction than I get, depending on where we are, just based off of our demographics and what we look like. So there's that.
The experience. I ask everybody, Harry, and people I did last year, but I think you're still active really in the military. How's it been? What have you gained, and how has it impacted your job? Like, have you gained skills that help you with code enforcement from the military?
Actually, so I'm in an MP unit here in North Carolina. So I had to go through the pepper spray and the OC spray and getting tased. And we don't carry weapons in our position. A lot of people think that we should, just because of the nature of our work. But I think that going through those trainings kind of made me more aware of, like, if we do bring CMPD in, what that kind of would look like if things were to escalate. Because our job is dangerous, whether people admit it or not. We go in people's houses. We go in people's backyard. Not everybody is receptive to us. Not everybody wants to be told what to do with the property that they own or they pay taxes on. So I think that the de-escalation training that we get on the military side, and kind of like rules of engagement. So like, if you're being aggressive in one way, I can only respond with an equal amount of aggression. I can't be more aggressive than what you're bringing to me. So the fact that we learn that in the military kind of helps me on the civilian side, because there's a lot of people who abuse power, and you see it on TV all the time. And I think that helps with being able to de-escalate when there are people who are upset.
I like hearing that, because when I ask that question, most people go, I learned discipline, and but like, that's really cool that you really can take that, and especially with your job, just seeing it, like, yes. The ERN, obviously that's how I found you, but
Yes.
What made you want to join the ERN?
So, Robert Serrato, he's actually one of the few people that are still in also. And he is in Housing and Neighborhood Services also. And um, when he first brought it up, I was one of the first people he reached out to. And I'm big on like being part of stuff. So even before I joined the ERN, I've walked in the Martin Luther King Parade, I've walked in the Pride Parade, I've done the Juneteenth Festival. I have a pretty good relationship with Jakari outside of the ERN because I like to do things like that. I like to include my daughter in things like that. So when he brought it up to me, I was like, yeah, I'm down. And then I'm actually the community engagement liaison for the Employee Resource Network. So I've brought in resources and other companies or nonprofits that are here that are local to Charlotte to meet with some of the veterans to provide them with resources outside of what the city can provide, or if they know other people, because there's a lot of veterans, experiencing homelessness or unable to find a job because they just don't know. They don't know how to build a resume. They've been in the military for 30 years, and now they're like, well, what do I do? So it may not necessarily be us who already have jobs working for the city, but a lot of us know other people. And then we have a partner with Habitat for Humanity. We're actually, next Friday on the 14th, we're doing a picnic table build. A bunch of us from the ERN, and then America, who is unable to participate in the ERN right now due to some personal reasons. She has helped me, her and I have helped set that up. So I really like being part of the ERN. I'm also part of the Strongest Link, which is HNS's co-department group that helps plan our activities. So we just did like a pumpkin hunt for the chance to win bunk cakes. We do like a Thanksgiving potluck every year. We have our all-staff meetings, which we usually get fed at. That's usually incentive for people to show up. Who doesn't like coffee and donuts in the morning or breakfast or, lunch or whenever we have it. I participate in all the code enforcement. We have a spring retreat, and then we usually have a Christmas party, and I'm part of the planning for all of that. We do like a gingerbread house competition, and then in the spring we always do a bunch of like games for the chance to win like a half a day off of work or something like that. So I like to plan. I like it. I like to be part of things.
You're very involved, clearly.
Yes, I enjoy it, actually. It gives me something to look forward to other than just coming to work.
I love that. I was gonna say too, as far as the veterans ERN, I think how important is just having a space like that for you and other veterans. You're technically still active, but
Well, yeah. So I think that a lot of veterans kind of lose that part of them once they transition out of the service. A lot of them kind of, they're either nowhere near where they grew up, or, now they have a wife and their children are older, getting older in college, and they have jobs now, they work for the city, and they kind of lose that sense of camaraderie that you get, the brotherhood and sisterhood of knowing that I may not even know your first name, but you're going to take a bullet for me if it comes down to it. And that's something that people who are not in the military would never understand. It's kind of just like an instant acceptance. And I feel like, especially with a lot of our guys being, maybe they only did 4 years, or maybe they only did 6 years, or maybe they did 30, and they've been out for 20 now. And you kind of lose that sense of connection I think. So I believe that the ERN kind of brings that back to everybody and makes them realize, like, hey, you're not alone.
Yeah, gives you a chance to not only you guys have two things in common: the military, and then you also work for the city. So
Right.
we can talk about that, complain, things like that. Kind of my last thing, and you've already hit it a bit, but what's next for you? I know you mentioned you want to stay with the city. As far as your military career and your civilian life. I think, what do you see your next 5 years looking like?
So my goal on the military side is to deploy. I want the opportunity to go overseas. I want the opportunity to see what that looks like. And financially, really, it's beneficial. Yes, you put your life on the line and there's a chance you may not come home. But I do that every day at work anyway. So for me, the military, I just want to continue to progress in my career. I want that deployment overseas, whether it's 1 or 2. I have 9 years total in service because of my break. So by the time my contract is done, I'll be more than halfway there. So I'll probably do the whole 20, God willing. And as far as my career with the city, we actually just had a informational session with our ERN, and I found out that the city does prepaid tuition. So I plan on going back to school. What that looks like, I'm not sure. I want to sit down with one of the career coaches that they have and kind of see what courses and what degree would work best for what I'm trying to do, and then what that would look like if I were to stay with the city. Like, where could I take my logistics and take my supply and stay within the city, or is that not something that the city really